Again, good morning ladies and gentlemen, and we're here introducing the second YouTube, and this one I think can be summarised up by work ethic. And so Anne, if you can give us a bit of a feel about Daphne's work ethic, because in this YouTube she talks about work, tennis, catching trams, and she must have just had an incredibly busy life.
Well, she did have an incredibly busy life, and of course all the sporting people of those days had to work because there was no financial support, so they all had full-time jobs and they played their sport in whatever time they could afford, after that. Daphne, of course, did have a fantastic work ethic. She'd come from the farm, where she was a dairy farm, where she'd milk the cows in the morning and come home after school and worked hard alongside her brothers. But then when she came to Brisbane to further her tennis, yes, she had to get a job, and of course in those days, in jobs, there was no sort of, well, I don't feel like working today and I won't. We all worked pretty hard, I must say, back in the day.
And it does go back. I mean, we're celebrating in this series of YouTubes 100-year history, and we are so incredibly lucky to be able to capture the thoughts at this stage, because we've almost got 50 years which will end up being documented in such great detail, and it is a really great project.
I think it's a fantastic project, and Milton is so important. I think people nowadays don't really understand just how Milton was the centre of tennis, not only in Brisbane, not only in Queensland, but really in Australia. Everybody in Australia, if you said Milton, they knew you were talking about tennis. I think probably the only equivalent now is the Gabba. To talk about the Gabba, people know that the Gabba's cricket and more latterly AFL, but when you said Milton, they knew that was tennis, and all the greats played there, and many of those greats came from Queensland, and we should be very proud indeed of them.
Yes, no, it's a great opportunity. Anyway, with that, we'll move on and hear Daphne. Thank you. Good morning. This is the main interview here with Daphne, and so I've got some notes that I'm going to refer to. But one point I do recollect, Daphne, in our various discussions as we've built up towards this, is that you strongly feel that Milton gave you the edge in your tennis career. And so if you could just talk about that. And I love the bit about the trams, because Hugh Lunn, in his interviews, really did feature and talk so lovingly about the trams, and I just think it's so integral in the whole story of Frew Park.
Well, I agree with that, because without the trams, I can't imagine without the trams, because they just come and they go and you just hop on and hop off. And so, like most things in the world, you take it for granted if it's there. But I did love the trams, and the trams made it that when I finished work I could jump on that tram, go to Milton and play till dark, jump back on the tram and go right home on a tram. And so it was of no inconvenience to anybody, nobody had to pick me up. So that gave me the edge, because I had all that practice and I grew to love the grass, loved the opportunity to play on the grass. We didn't play that many tournaments on the grass, but I could practice on it, and I grew to love it. And so anywhere I played, if it was on grass, like when I hit England, and also back in Australia when I won the Queensland Open in 1958, in 1957 I didn't come back to Australia because they closed the Suez Canal and I had no ticket and no money. So I didn't get back here until 58, but my big win in Queensland was before I left to go overseas, on the grass, once again in Brisbane, to defeat Beryl Penrose to get to the semi-final of the Australian ladies. And then I had that altercation with the big Bill Olders, the president, and that was amazing, but anyway, that's another story. And so I had most of my, when I look back at my career, I had many of my best wins on the grass, and I really do think I beat a lot of players better than me, but I worked out a way to win, and on my knowledge of Milton, what Milton gave me, the great knowledge of how to play on grass, I owe to Milton.
Yeah, and I think it's a common theme that's sort of coming up, was that, the bounce, Jimmy Shepherd said the bounce was true, on the main court at least, was pretty average everywhere else apparently. And the effort of all the groundsmen in bringing the best out of that grass surface really gave Queensland players an edge. So it was like a joint effort, huge resource base of really top class athletes all through Queensland, all being drawn to Milton and then honing their game. But before I get too carried away, though, I just want to go back. So how many invoices did you have to type a day? You're on a set amount, weren't you?
Yeah, I had to do over 100 invoices a day. The man that I worked for at Dunlop Rubber Company, he didn't believe in any time off at all. And of course, in those days,
even though that was a sporting company.
Even though that was a sporting company.
He was employing you to help.
Exactly.
Yep.
It didn't matter. And it didn't matter that I was #1 in Queensland at the time. It didn't matter. I had 100 plus invoices to do, so quite often I'd work right through my lunch hour and I got faster and faster. And I'd go to him and I'd maybe a half an hour before knock-off time or an hour, and he'd say, how many invoices you've done? And I'd say, well, I've done 105. All right, you can go. But that was the rule, and I accepted the rule. What I'd learned all through my life was to accept the playing field as you get.
Yep.
And you deal with what you've got. And I still was grateful to be able to jump on that train, shoot out to Milton, come back and go home. Quite often I got home because I was boarding, I never got any dinner, but that didn't matter, I just filled up on fruit or something. But I never thought I was having a tough time, I thought I was having a great time. In fact, I was having a great time.
And everyone has fond memories that they look back upon, but I can tell by your demeanour that yours were really special. And with that we might say good morning and thank you again.
You may be interested in the background is a portrait painted of my husband Don Cameron, former MP of several seats, and I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Frew Park YouTube, and I know that there'll be many more interesting things coming out of all of this, and I'm very proud to be a part of it all. Thank you.